Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Nishant and I'll be your host for the webinar. So the topic for today is scaling Agile at the program level. Let's get started. Here's a brief agenda for what we'll cover today. We'll begin with a set of introductions and then we will follow it up with the presentation by Manoj Cherry. We'll end with a quick Q&A. So the session is being recorded. We will send you a recording in a day or two. We'll take questions via the questions box. You'll find it on the right side of your GoToWebinar panel. Feel free to enter them at any point in time and we'll address them at the end. We've already had quite a few coming in during the registration process, so we'll probably start with those. Our speaker for today is Manoj Cherry, currently a VP at Digitech. He spent over 20 years in the project management domain, and he brings vast experience with pretty much all the software development and product related frameworks by now. Quickly, here's a brief intro to Digitech. We've been a pioneer in web-based collaborative products for distributed teams for the better part of 2 decades now. We're headquartered in Cupertino, California, and we have nearly 1 million users spread across the globe. Products cover Lean Kanban, Agile ALM, product portfolio management, and you can see some of our tools listed down below. So here's a quick look at some of our customers. We have teams of 10 members right up to enterprises of 100,000 users using our tools. So that's pretty much it. Over to you, Mano.
Thank you, Nishant, for the quick introduction. Are you able to see my screen? I just wanted to confirm that.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Yeah. Good morning and welcome all of you for joining our session on scaling Agile at program level. As Nishant did mention, my name is Manu, and I'm very glad that all of you have been able to take out your time to join the session. As mentioned, our objective today is primarily to focus on how large teams can adopt the Agile principles and the Agile methodologies. What we have seen is the simplest and the easiest form of implementing Agile is always at the team level, and that has been successful at various organizations. But the challenge is to scale it. The need of the hour is to have the ability to scale it to large programs or large portfolios or large services that is being offered by a specific customer. Now, in order to scale to that high, at the higher level, the key to the success is the principles, the mindset, the values, and the practices which were successful at the team level should also be scaled up to a higher program level. Now, it looks very easy to say so in a presentation, but the challenge comes is at a program level, you will obviously have a lot of teams involved, a lot of objectives being defined, different cultures coming into place, and the capability or the challenge is how you will be able to scale what was successful at a team level to a program level. I will not be taking you into the basics of Agile today because I believe that all of you are aware of Agile, and in some way or the other, you are practicing this framework at a project level, but we would definitely like to focus on how it can be scaled at an enterprise level. Now, scaling at program level means that multiple independent Agile teams should be able to come together and jointly plan their work, get into the development of the work which they had planned for, integrate the various pieces of work in a good manner, have the ability of testing them, and have the ability of deploying them. And all of these should be done within the key success or the key framework of what Agile is offering. That means it should be done at a much faster space. So the primary objective or the primary requirement of scaling at a program level means that multiple teams are able to come together, multiple stakeholders, teams, and customers are all able to come together and are all able to discuss and get aligned to a common vision and a common objective. And this common vision and common objective should be broken down to teams, which will basically enable them to plan, develop, integrate, test, deploy, and as a result of that, deliver value to the end users. Now, how can this be done? There are definitely a lot of presentations and literature that is available in the industry and also on the web, which would basically talk about the typical challenges and how organizations have succeeded in achieving this. But what we would like to focus on today is to bring in the perspective of a product-based approach, and then explain to you how the objective of having the ability to scale agile at a program level can be successfully achieved if a proper framework or a proper platform is being implemented, and the entire team is able to collaborate and work on that integrated platform. Now, the crux of agile is that the work the work that has been given has to be broken into small, independent, and testable units, which will deliver value to the customer. Now, this is what is being done at a team level. Any work that is being given to a team is broken down to small, independent, testable user stories, and each of these user stories would deliver some form of value to the end user. Now, the question is, when we come to a program where the size of the work is very, very different from what is there at a project level, because at a program level, you're talking about a much larger scope. So how do you break that larger scope into smaller, independent, testable units that can be given to different teams that are part of your program and still deliver value to the customers? So this would basically, if you look at this statement which I've just made, this would basically mean that you need to have a proper structured way in which work can be broken down, work can be distributed to different teams, and a proper traceability also has to be established between the work which the team is working on and the scope which is being defined as an objective to be delivered to the end user or to a customer. So there are many mechanisms that are available which will basically help you to break a large scope of work or a large use case into smaller chunks. And one of the most popular way, a structured way of doing that, is the method of story mapping. And I would definitely like to spend a little time on talking about on showing you how story mapping framework can be used to break a large scope of work into smaller work units. Apart from having the story map, now once the story map enables you to break this work into smaller units, now it gets distributed to teams. The team should also have an ability to view the objective of the program, and then based on that objective and based on the prioritization of the program, the team should also be able to plan the work that has been assigned to them. They should also be able to execute on that work which they have planned, and then report the progress in a very seamless way back to the program stakeholders, and also monitor its progress just to ensure that all your dependencies are in place, and also to ensure that the end objective within the required time frame is being met. Now, all of this can happen. Maybe you can use different systems, but all of this can happen in a seamless manner if it is basically being tracked in a single integrated platform. And I would just like to show you, take you through this brief diagram which I have represented over here, and then take you through the product. So what we are going to show today is we are going to see how a large scope, a large work item, a large deliverable, or a large use case can be broken down to smaller themes, which by itself is a large definition. Themes can be broken down to epics, and how the epics can be broken down to stories, which is your small, independent, testable units. And then we will look at how this the scope breakdown can be fed to a backlog, where it can be prioritized by the teams who are owning that backlog. And that is the second part of the demo of a presentation which we would take you through. So we will see how the work is being broken down, how it is pushed to a backlog, and how from a backlog a team can pick it up and prioritize it. There are multiple, again, methods of prioritization that is available, but we would like to, in interest of time, we would just like to show you a very simple approach wherein which you will be able to prioritize your work. And once the work has been prioritized, we would like to show you how it can be easily executed on a very simple interface, and then based on the execution, how various metrics can be generated at a team level, and how the progress can basically be shown at a program level. If this kind of a structure is basically there in place at a program level, then it becomes very easy to scale your agile practices at a program level and deliver value to your customers. So with that quick definition introduction, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to switch to the Swift Enterprise product, the product which I would be showing to you, or the framework which I'm going to show to you, where in which a lot of this can be accomplished is the Swift Enterprise framework. Nishant, I just wanted to check if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, Mano, perfectly clear.
Okay. So let me just log in as a program manager. My name is Ben Klusner, and I'm just logging into the system, and I am by default taken to the workspace where I have defined my large scope. So if you see that I'm managing a program known as Core Work Management Platform, and this is where the core planning activity is happening. And in this program, there are 3 large-scale scopes that has basically been defined. So let us look at the first scope, which is known as the Agile at Scale scope, or the Agile at Scale use case that needs to be implemented in the system. So when I click on this on that scope which I've just defined, it basically gives me a visual representation on how the scope can be broken down to smaller independent and testable units. Now, the story mapping method recommends that any large scope item can be broken down to 3 smaller units. The first one being teams. Teams can be broken down to epics, and epics can be broken down to technical or user stories, which is nothing but your small independent testable units. So a large scope can have a single theme, or it can have multiple themes. So in this example, if you see that there are 4 themes which this particular scope is having. So it has a parent-child hierarchy set up as a theme, dependency as a theme, and then program portfolio level dashboard as another theme. So it has basically 4 themes that has basically been defined over here. Now, each of these themes can further be broken down to smaller epics. And if you look at over here, we will just look at the first theme, that is the parent-child hierarchy setup theme. You will see that it is broken down to 4 epics. You have epic 1, 2, 3, and 4. But the story mapping method gives you an additional dimension. It says that the product which you are developing or the service which you are offering is going to be consumed by different personas or different people of different profiles. So one of the recommendation which story mapping makes is, when you're splitting your theme to epics, keep the personas in its perspective. So you split the epics based on how the persona is going to use the system or is going to consume the service. So if you see here, we have just made 2 simple personas. You can create any number of personas over here in the system. So I have a management persona and a team level persona. So the first theme is broken down to 2 epics, which basically meets the requirement of a management persona, and then it is broken down to further 2 epics, which basically meets the needs of the team member persona. Now, once the epics has been defined, then the next step is you will break the epics further down to user stories, and these user stories are nothing but your small independent testable units, and each of these would deliver a specific value to the customer. Now, the whole operation, the whole setup, and the whole operation of this mechanism is very, very simple. All you need to do is, if you have to define a new epic, you can just go ahead and define a new epic. If you want to define a new user story, you can go ahead and define a new user story and say that it is part of which particular epic. So through a simple mechanism, one will be able to set up the work breakdown structure over here. Now, just wanted to highlight one important transaction over here. And to highlight that specific transaction, I'm going to the settings page of this board, and whatever configurations I'm showing can be done, is being done specific to a program. So which means that if you want to have a different process, you may be an organization running multiple programs, and if you want to have a different process to be followed between program 1 and program 2, you will basically be able to set it up, and it is fairly configurable. So the important configuration that I wanted to highlight over here is as follows. So there is a setup which will basically let you know that, okay, what are all the entities that is part of this program. So you see that I have a planning entity, a planning workspace, and then I have a alpha release team workspace. So if I have multiple release teams, then for each of those release teams, I can create a workspace. Just to make today's presentation simple, I've just created one release team, but you can create n number of release teams, and each release team can have their workspaces. And then you can also go and specify what needs to be tracked at the planning side. So you can say that, okay, I want to track team and epic, but if you want to track features, if you want to track user stories, that configuration is available and that is supported. And here you see that at the release team, at the alpha release team level, we are going to track technical stories and user stories. And then you can go and say, where is the primary release and sprint being defined? Is it going to be defined at the program level, or is it going to be defined at the multiple release team level? So that is a configuration you can do, and then set it up accordingly. Now, based on this setup, just observe the configuration I've done over here. We have said that the release and sprint is going to be done in the release team alpha, in the release team alpha level. So what does that mean is, I am right now in the planning interface. As you can see here, if you refer this breadcrumb over here, I am right now in the planning interface. And in the planning interface, along with the various stakeholders who are part of this program, it could be your customers, it could be your architects, it could be your business analysts. All the stakeholders have come to this planning interface, taken up a scope, broken it down to themes, broken it down to epics, and then broken it down to small testable user stories. So that is what has happened in this interface. But then what I wanted to highlight, or what I'm going to highlight to you right now, is these user stories, which has been defined at the program level by the program level team. These user stories automatically will flow to the release team interface. So which means that when the release team opens up their workspace, and I'm just going to show that to you, when the release team opens up their workspace, they are able to see the big scopes they are part of. They can drill down. So I'll just skip that part. But let me just take you to the user stories. If I take you to the user stories, you will see that all the user stories, including user story 2, which we just looked at now, all the user stories, the smaller piece of chunks which has been broken at the program level, has automatically flown to the release team workspace. So this is one way in which you will be able to enforce a very effective communication between the program level team and the release team, the team members who are working part of that release. Now, there are a lot of capabilities over here. If I go to a particular release team, I can further have smaller teams, like you see here, I have a team Brian and I have a team Alisa. So there are a lot of capabilities around that is available in the system. Let me just skip that for the time being. Now let us say that, now let us assume that so right now I'm at the release team interface level. So the release team has now, let me just go back to the planning level and just show you how it is, how the structure which we have defined is also going to help a program manager. Okay, so I'm just going to show that to you right now. Now the program team will for the purpose of its tracking will have an execution board. So if you see here, they have a visual execution board where they are able to see the progress of their teams, they are able to see the progress of their epics, and so on and so forth. So there are multiple capabilities that is available over here, and you are also able to see that work for you can have a value stream wherein you have defined your large scope items, you've broken down your large scope item to smaller themes. Now the team can come and collaborate and say that, okay, which is the theme which we need to prioritize, and which is the theme we need to break it down to, a smaller, finer detail. So you can, the entire process of prioritization and detailing can be tracked and monitored through a visual board that we which we provide you in the system. Now, at any point of time, if I click on one of the themes, so let me take you to the theme where we have gone ahead and defined some details. You can capture the details of the theme. We provide an ability over here known as linkages. So this linkages has been established automatically based on the breakdown which I have done at the story mapping board. So you're able to see that this theme, program and portfolio level detailing, is being broken down to 4 epics, and that is what we saw on the board. And further, if I drill down, it will basically show me the user stories that has been broken against it, and we will be able to see the progress. So the progress will basically get rolled up in this visualization, and we will shortly get back to you on that. So what I was trying to say is, apart from the story mapping view which we provide, if a program manager or a senior stakeholder wants to track the actual progress and the actual breakdown, like say for example, if I blow this up to the highest level, I'll be able to see that this particular user story is being executed in the alpha release team. That is what you basically get to see here. If there is a beta release team, then you will be able to see which epic is being addressed by which team and which user story is being addressed by which team. So that visualization is very distinctly and very clearly brought up through this specific interface. So that is the first part that I wanted to highlight. Now let me take you to the second part of where I will be spending some time. Let us go back to the platform release team. Now, when the platform release team is continuously being fed with smaller requirements, and these smaller requirements are either coming from the product team, coming from the program team, and it could also be coming from the customer. Like say, for example, a customer has used a feature and a customer wants to give a feedback on that feature. It can either be routed to the program team or it can directly be fed to the release team. So those are all configurations that that you have. Now, when a release team comes to this interface, they basically see that, okay, I have a lot of user stories that I need to plan for. Now, to facilitate an easy planning for the release teams, what we do is we give a very simple process known as a grooming process. There are multiple ways in which you can prioritize. We will not get into that, but I just wanted to show you the simplest of all process that can be used for prioritizing your work. So if you look at this visualization, it says that at this point of time, you have 77 user stories that has been given to you by the program team, of which 30 user stories are in progress. That means it is planned for some sprint and the execution is in progress. 47 are pending. That means it has not been assigned to any sprint, of which 37 are in your backlog and 10 are ready to be assigned for future sprints. So there is a very simplistic visualization which we give over here, which will basically tell you at this point of time, where am I or how am I from a backlog completion perspective. You get to see all the list of backlog items over here. Now we provide an interface. You can use a lot of filters. You can say that, okay, I want to focus on all engineering type of user stories, or I want to focus on all user stories that is being that belongs to a particular epic. So these are the epics. I want to focus on all user stories that belongs to a particular epic. So you can use a lot of filtering process that is available over here in the system, based on which you can say that, okay, these are the user stories that we need to prioritize at this point of time. So you can choose a set of 5 user stories, and then you can move it to the grooming queue. So when you move it to the grooming queue, let me just move it to the grooming queue. You will see that, okay, these are the user stories that needs further detailing. That means they have been prioritized by the release team, and the prioritization has happened by understanding what the program objective is, and then in the grooming process, the teams can come and detail the requirement to the level of detail they would require. So they can give in details, they can define the test cases that are applicable, what is the acceptance criteria of that particular user story. All those details can be captured in this in the grooming process. And once the user story has been groomed, you will push it to the sprint planning queue. And when you push it to the sprint planning queue, just wanted to mention over here is, at the release team level, you can define your releases, you can define your sprints. And as you can see here, there is one release, that is release 1.0, that has been defined, and there are 2 sprints that has been defined, which is being handled by 2 separate teams. Now, once the user stories has been prioritized, you can now come and say that which of these user stories is going to get moved to which sprint. So there is a simple drag and drop mechanism. Like, say for example, if I just try to drag and drop one more user story over here, it will show me that you're overloaded this particular sprint by 5 story points. And then if you want to bring it down, then you can just unassign one user stories, and you'll see that you're on par. So you can see the various teams in your release workspace, and then you can assign work to those teams. Now, just note that we defined the release, we defined the sprint in the release workspace. We prioritize the smaller testable user stories in the release workspace, and we assigned user stories to a particular sprint in the release workspace. That is what we have done now. How will this get reflected at the program level? So now let me just I'm going back to the program workspace, and I want to see what kind of planning has my team done at this point of time. So what you will be able to see is, let us go to the first large scope item which we were referring to. So you are able to see that, okay, I have my themes, I have my epics. Now these are the user stories which are not allocated. That means it can be picked up. Whereas if I come down, you're able to see my release 1.0, and I'm able to see my Alan sprint, and I'm also able to see my Brian sprint, and I'm able to see the user stories that has been assigned to these particular sprints. So what has been done at the team level gets pushed to the program board, so that the program manager can get he is able to understand which work is being picked up by the team, and where work is progressing at this point of time. We also have an ability, whereas if at this interface, if the program manager wants to say that, okay, no, I want to pick this and get it out in this release, then he can just do a drag and drop method. There is a drag and drop method, but I'm not going to do that now because I just don't want to just wanted to disturb that. So what we have done till now, let us do a quick recap. We saw how a large scope through a simple interface and can be broken down to themes, epics, and stories. And then we saw that how these user stories can be pushed to the backlog. It can be a program backlog, or it can be a release team backlog. You can have a single team working on that program, or you can have multiple teams working on that program. So we saw how work gets pushed to that backlog. And then we saw how the work gets prioritized through a simple grooming process and how it gets allocated to various sprints. So till that is what we have covered. Before I move forward further, I just wanted to just give you some indication on the various ways in which a work can be broken. Like say, for example, I have another scope over here known as percent work completion. So if you see here, this scope is having only one theme. So the flexibility we provide is a scope, a large scope or a large use case which needs to be delivered to a customer can be broken down to one theme or multiple themes, and then you can further break it down the way you would want it to. So this is one way of breaking it down. Just let me show you another way of breaking it down. So here you're able to see that it is one large scope that is being broken down to uh, three themes, and then we are given you can have a different visualization over here. Each of the epics is having its own queue, so they can be within the same queue or they can be as part of a different queue. So these are the various ways in which, so you will, so I just wanted to highlight that within a program your large scope items can have different flows of breakdown. And if you're an organization which is having multiple programs, each of those programs can also have its own mechanism of breakdown, because different systems and different projects and different products would have different needs. Now with this quick, let me just log in as another project manager or a scrum master who's managing another team, just to reinforce what I have just explained to you right now. So I'm going to log in as Oliver Jake, who is a scrum master. And when Oliver logs into the system, like I showed you before, he gets to his backlog refinement, where he is able to see all the user stories that has been assigned to him. It could be from various products, various programs, customer issues, it could be anything. Now, there is one important capability that we have over here is the concept of grouping your backlog. So here, you can group your backlog on the basis of, let us say, I want to group it on the basis of priority, and I want to group it on the basis of story type. So you are able to see what is the count of critical items, high, medium, low items that you have. And you're able to see a lot of critical items has been completed, a lot of medium items is still to be completed. And then you can see the breakdown over here. And now when you're doing a planning, if you want to say that I want to focus only on critical items, then you just select it. It shows you the count over here. 210, 191 are pending, 183 is in backlog. So you can choose the way in which you want to view your backlog during the time of prioritization. So here I've given a different view, so I'm able to see, okay, how many new features do I have in my backlog? 257, and out of which 222 are in the backlog. And then I'm able to see the distribution of new features across various modules. And then I can see, okay, in my Agile, I had 20 user stories, 6 are completed, 14 are pending. So there are various interactions which you can do on this screen, very simple, easy to use interactions, which can be done at the team level by the release team. It is being primarily done in the release team workspace. Now, once the grooming and the prioritization has been done, I just wanted to show you the various types of ways in which a sprint can be executed. Now, for the purpose of execution, for all the teams, we provide a visual Kanban board or a visual interface. Now, if you look at this interface, you are able to see all the user stories, that is your small testable units that has been prioritized. And the entire work is basically being taken through a process which is nothing but your value stream. Now, the process which your team is following, wherein which the steps that are involved in picking up a story to its delivery, that entire process, you will be able to map it on a very simple visual Kanban board, as you basically see over here. So you're able to see that, okay, once the story comes, it gets into analysis, where you do an NFR analysis, you do a functional analysis, you do design, then you take it through a development process. After the development, you have a code review process, so you'll be able to see that, okay, this card development has been completed, it is under code review at this point of time. And then you take it through a validation process, and then you take it through a demo process. And once the demo has been completed and all the feedback which you have received from the demo has been completed, you basically will be able to take that story through a closure. So the execution of work is basically happening through a visual Kanban board. So all the release team members who are part of a release team, their interface day in and day out is going to be a simple, easy to use Kanban board. Now there are a lot of capabilities which we provide on this board. Like say for example, we provide a board editor. So if you want to create your own additional steps which would primarily depict your exact process, you can basically go ahead and do that. And then we have a card designer. So this is basically going to help you to view the details of each of your requirement in the way you would want it to view. So you can basically go and say that when I open up a card, what are the attributes I would want to see on the card? And then you can also go and specify, like say for example, do I need a default set of to-dos? Then you get a default set of to-dos. So there are a lot of such capabilities which we provide away. How do I determine my percentage completion? We give a flexibility on it. Is it on the basis of to-dos completed? Is it on the basis of efforts? You may give some estimate efforts at a to-do level. So how do I determine that? So all of that can primarily be tracked on your visual Kanban board. So that is the first part. So there are a lot of configurability which we provide there. If you want to view any details of any particular card, you just need to drill on it. You will be able to see all the details that are pertaining to the card. You don't have to go back to the list view. You will be, if you have defined some to-dos, you'll be able to see the to-dos that you have defined against it. If there are some test cases against that card, that can be seen. And if there are some bugs reported against that card, you see that there is one bug that has been reported over here. And if I go to linked card, I will also be able to see that visually, that there is some bug that has basically been reported against that card. So all that indicators is available within the Kanban board, and you can basically use that for tracking your work. Once the work has been done, we support a push mechanism. You can push it, or say for example, suppose if I say that this card, the coding has been done. Now the person who is available for code review, if his bandwidth is available, then he can do a pull mechanism. So the visual board will basically help you to push work to the next queue, or if the next queue is free and available, they have some bandwidth available with them, then they can do a pull mechanism. So this is a very simple, easy mechanism wherein which you will be able to execute your work. Now, some of the ceremonies in your agile execution, like your stand-up meetings, we do have modules that are available there. I'm not going to get into that because I might digress from the scope of today's demo. But if you would want to see it, please do reach out to us, and we would be very happy to demonstrate these capabilities with you. So coming back to the recap, to the presentation, so we looked at how a large scope can be broken down to smaller units, how it can construct a backlog, how the backlog can be prioritized, and how it can be taken to execution. So the sprint execution basically happens through a value stream through a visual Kanban board. Now, as all of this is happening, what I wanted to show you is I wanted to go to another program manager where I have some data. So this is a program known as program structure. So if I come to the team progress view, you're able to see that in this program structure, you have two teams where work is ready to start. And you have one team where work is almost 42% complete. As you can see here, 42% has been completed in this team. Now, this movement of card based on percentage completion happens automatically. It does not happen through a drag and drop. It happens automatically. So it goes to the percentage completion automatically based on the progress of work that is happening at the release level boards. Okay. Now, if I want to know how is this 42% complete, I can basically drill down to that card. So you can see these are the details of the card. I can go to my linked card. So if I go to my linked card, I am basically able to see that, okay, some progress has happened on this team, And then if I further break it down, I'm able to see that these are the user stories within this team. And in this particular user story has been 100% completed, and it is being executed on this release board. And this team is also, something like 44% completed. So based on the roll-up logic which we have applied, and based on the completion of work that happens at the release workspace, the person, you're able to see the progress of your large scope items, which has basically been broken down to various teams. So this is the framework that would basically help your program level team to plan, uh, and while doing the planning, you have various visual interfaces, you have all the agile principles that can be brought into it, and then you can break it down to smaller units, push it to various release workspaces, and then based on the work that has been completed on those release workspaces, the program manager or the senior stakeholder or even the customer, they just can log in and they will be able to see the progress and percentage completion of work. And all of this is happening in a very simple agile manner, which can be scaled across multiple teams. So that is an end of my presentation. I was planning to do this in 30 minutes, but I think I've overshot by 10 minutes. Pardon me for that. I will just spend the next 5 to 10 minutes to see if there are any question and answers.
Thanks, Manu. Very nice presentation. Folks, if you have any questions, please let us know using the questions box. So, Manu, we'll start off with some of the ones that came in during registration. So question is, can you track multiple programs using the Swift Enterprise platform?
The ability to track, so the hierarchy is configurable, so you can have a portfolio broken down to multiple programs, rolling up to a portfolio, and then multiple programs broken down to multiple release workspaces. And the system also gives you the ability where you can have multiple portfolios, each of which having multiple programs, each of which having multiple release teams. So to that extent, it is fairly configurable. So you can have one program, you can have multiple programs, and you can also have a level above the program, which is nothing but your organization initiative or things like that. Like, say for example, I think I have something over here. Just give me a minute, which would basically, yeah. While I show that, you can take me to the next question.
Yeah. So
So this is the various. These are coming from various different programs, which is basically being tracked. Various different portfolios broken down to multiple smaller themes, which is being executed across different programs. So I just wanted to show that visualization. Yes, it can be done. I'll take the next question.
Okay. So the next question is, does Digitech offer any help with an agile implementation?
Yes, we do work with our customers very closely. We do have a team that gets engaged with our customers in agile transformation. And one of the key benefits that would come with us is, as you're defining your process and setting up the processes and the discipline, we get involved in training, we get involved in hand-holding, and we also help you to implement the whole process through a tool that is a Swift Enterprise or the Swift Kanban tool.
And how long would these implementations generally take, Manu?
It depends on the size of the program, size of the teams, but we have worked with teams where we have been able to accomplish this. Like, say for example, the training and the tool rollout is not where the time is going to take. A lot of time is going to take place in the hand-holding process. So we would say that at least we would like to hand-hold the team for 4 to 5 sprints or 4 to 5 releases. So when you talk about 4 to 5 sprints, then we are talking about a 3 to 4 month kind of an engagement. Whereas if you say that we want you to be handholded for 4 to 5 releases, then that could be like 6 to 8 months. So it depends on the customer. but most of the time is basically going to happen on the hand-holding part.
Okay, thank you. So Vikramjit wants a quick peek at the program view that you showed.
Yeah.
So while you
I just wanted
navigate
to show you.
Yeah, I'll just take a couple of other questions. So there are questions around whether it's only a SaaS tool. So folks know we do offer an on-premise deployment. You can put it up on a private cloud. We also have a SaaS version. So everything. That answers that. That's about it for now. Any other questions, folks? You can add it to the questions box.
You can also write to us if you would want to have a detailed presentation. I'm sure all of you have represented various organizations, but if you would want to have a presentation specific to your needs to a larger audience within your organization, please do write to us, and we would be able to revert very quickly and help you with that. Okay. Okay then, Nishant, I think we are good to go then. Thank you all for attending, and I hope this presentation was useful. And like Nishant then mentioned, in a couple of days' time, we will be sharing this presentation with all of you. Thank you very much for joining, and please do feel free to get in touch with us.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.